San Diego counties. Crews halted a new fire in Poway, while firefighters remain alert after recent major blazes. Kamala Harris visited Al Dente, thanking responders and meeting victims. Jury selection begins for rapper A$AP Rocky, accused of firing a gun at Terrell Efron, a childhood friend, in 2021. He faces 2 felony charges and up to 24 years in prison if convicted. The rapper, who pleads not guilty, is known for his music, fashion, and partnership with Rihanna. Media cameras will cover the trial, with opening statements likely on Wednesday. Efron claims their feud escalated, leading to the alleged shooting, where bullets grazed his knuckles. 15 grey wolves from Canada were released in Colorado's Central Mountains last week as part of a volunteer-driven reintroduction initiative. 5 relocated wolves joined them in Eagle and Pitkin counties. Officials delayed the announcement due to threats against staff. Since the program began, livestock depredations have been reported and 2 wolves were illegally killed. The state plans to release 30 to 50 wolves over 5 years to restore the species in the western US. Joe Biden ended his 50-year political career as Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th US president. The Bidens welcomed the Trumps for a tea meeting before the inauguration. Trump pledged to reverse Biden's policies in his address. Biden then left for California with family, marking a quiet transition. The White House was quickly redecorated for its new occupants. President Trump orders Alaska's tallest peak renamed Mount McKinley. The change revives the historic name linked to the 25th US President. Senator Lisa Murkowski opposes the move, backing the native name Denali. Denali, meaning the High One, honors Alaska's Athabascan heritage. The name was officially changed in 2015 under Obama. Trump's order cites McKinley's tariff policies and legacy. South Korea witnesses an unprecedented political showdown as impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol appears in court for his impeachment trial. With public anger boiling over and the nation's future at stake, all eyes are on Seoul. Let's take a closer look at the gripping developments.
A historic moment in South Korea's democracy. Vehicles carrying impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol arrived at the Constitutional Court in Seoul for a landmark impeachment hearing. The court will deliberate whether to permanently remove Yoon from office after his impeachment motion was passed in December, a decision that could reshape South Korea's political landscape. Yoon's controversial martial law declaration on December 3rd ignited political chaos, lasting mere hours before lawmakers struck it down and moved to impeach him. Yoon's arrest in a criminal probe further fueled tensions. Pro-Yoon supporters clashed with police, underscoring the deep divisions within the country. After skipping 2 prior hearings, Yoon appeared in court today for the first time. His legal team remains adamant about defending his presidency. If the court rules against Yoon, he will lose his presidency, triggering elections within 60 days. The trial, expected to last months, could define the future of South Korea's democracy. As the drama unfolds, public opinion remains polarized. South Koreans are watching closely as the nation's democratic institutions face one of their toughest tests. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from the Indo-Pacific region. A tragic landslide in Pekalongan in central Java, Indonesia, has resulted in 16 fatalities and 10 injuries. 9 people are also reported missing. According to an official with the local disaster agency, heavy rains in the area have been cited as the reason for this landslide. The inclement weather has further impeded the search for the missing people. Following the United States' decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization, the Chinese Foreign Ministry urged for its strengthening rather than weakening. The ministry spokesperson Guo Jiaqian reaffirmed China's commitment to supporting the WHO in fulfilling its critical duties. This isn't the first time that Donald Trump has tried to sever ties with the WHO. Trump has slammed the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic by the WHO and signed an executive order directing the US to withdraw from the body. 27 people were injured after a magnitude 6.4 earthquake jolted Tainan City in Taiwan. Taiwan is on the brink of two tectonic plates close to the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is the world's most seismically active zone, making Taiwan prone to earthquakes. The last significant earthquake to strike the island was a fatal 7.4 magnitude tremor in April 2024, which was the strongest in 25 years. Saudi Arabia's investment mining fund, Manara Minerals, is set to acquire a 10 to 20% stake in Pakistan's reshape copper and gold mining project for proceeds of about $500 million to $1 billion. Manara Minerals would buy the equity stake from the government of Pakistan, which owns 25% of the mine. The reshape mine is considered one of the world's largest underdeveloped copper-gold areas by global mining company Barrick Gold, which owns the project jointly with Pakistan. The South Korean government said it would continue to push for North Korea's denuclearization ahead of US President Donald Trump called for North Korea a nuclear power as he returned to the presidency for a second term. Trump also remarked that he and Kim get along very well. When asked about Trump's comments, the South Korean Defense Ministry said they would continue to seek North Korea's denuclearization and that denuclearization is a prerequisite for permanent peace and stability in the world. Donald Trump has once again sworn in as the American president, and with this grand inauguration came flooding executive orders, including a crackdown on immigration. The 47th president has lived up to his words and began taking stern measures on who he called the aliens. Let's take a look at the report.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
From behind his desk, President Donald Trump signed a flurry of executive orders and decrees aimed at cracking down on immigration. After swearing in as the 47th US president, Trump formally revoked nearly 80 executive orders of his predecessor. From one order tackling the definition of birthright citizenship to another declaring illegal immigration at the border a national emergency, Trump swiftly made moves on his promises to tighten the US-Mexico border. Trump also signed an order regarding Mexican drug cartels.
People have wanted to do this for years, so they are now designated as terrorist organizations, foreign.
Following his inauguration, he also signed a proclamation that gave officials the authority to repel, repatriate, or remove migrants until he was satisfied that the invasion at the southern border has ceased. Trump also appears to be seeking to change the rules so that the children of undocumented migrants living in the US will no longer automatically be considered as citizens. The new administration has also moved to swiftly scrap CBP-1, a mobile application used by migrants to book appointments to appear at a port of entry. It was the only legal pathway to request asylum at the US-Mexico border. App users now are shown a message noting that existing appointments scheduled through CBP-1 are no longer valid. The Biden administration had scheduled roughly 30,000 appointments via the app in the next 3 weeks. As many as 270,000 migrants were in Mexico waiting for an opportunity to enter the US using the app.
Que tenga compasión, que tenga compasión y lo deje cruzar, que lo dé un apoyo, que los apoye, que de verdad venimos sufriendo, son 6 meses de sufrimiento.
Trump is already facing legal challenges from immigration advocacy groups, which have reacted furiously to his announcements. It has been just a day in the Oval Office and the new president has begun acting on all that he promised. What now awaits is to be seen. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from South America. Colombian President Gustavo Petro said he will declare a state of emergency following a state of guerrilla attacks in the country's northeast that has killed dozens of people and forced thousands to flee their homes. The measure will go into effect after a decree is signed by the president and his cabinet. but it can also be invalidated by Colombia's constitutional court. Mr. Petro had warned that his nation's military would take offensive actions against the National Liberation Army after the rebels known as the ELN unleashed a wave of attacks in Colombia's Catatumbo, which at least 80 people have been killed. A journalist who reported on Peru's extortion epidemic was shot dead on Monday, and 2 people were injured in a separate bomb attack on a prosecutor's office that also investigates racketeering. Gaston Medina, the owner and editor of a regional TV channel, was gunned down as he was leaving his house in the south-central city of Ica. He was shot multiple times by gunmen and declared dead on his arrival at the hospital. Medina had reported, among other issues, on the growing problem of racketeering by criminal gangs who threatened bus drivers, shopkeepers, hairdressers, and even teachers if they did not pay protection money. Argentina posted a record $18.9 billion trade surplus for 2024, according to official data released on Monday, which largely coincides with Libertarian President Javier Milei's first full year on the job. Since he took office in late 2023, Milei has bet on boosting grains and energy exports, along with slashing public spending in a bid to run away inflation in South America's second biggest economy. The agro-exporting country's previous biggest trade surplus was for a figure of $16.8 billion in 2009. Claudia Sheinbaum's Mexico president congratulated her US counterpart Donald Trump on his inauguration and called for dialogue, respect, and cooperation between the closely connected countries. The remarks came after Trump announced in his inaugural speech that he would declare a national emergency at the US-Mexico border and begin the process of deporting millions and millions of criminal aliens. Sheinbaum said earlier that her government was prepared to receive Mexicans expelled by the United States. Sheinbaum's predecessor, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, had cordial relations with Trump during the Republicans' first term, despite his harsh campaign rhetoric that described Mexican immigrants broadly as rapists and drug dealers. President Nayib Bukele, a staunch supporter of Bitcoin, has maintained his pro-crypto stance despite criticism and international pressures. El Salvador has continued to aggressively accumulate Bitcoin. The Latin American country's National Bitcoin Office stated that it had added 11 Bitcoins worth over $1 million to its shareholdings. The announcement follows El Salvador promising the International Monetary Fund that it would scale down its BTC adoption in exchange for a $1.4 billion loan back in December 24, with IMF demanding El Salvador make the private sector's acceptance of Bitcoin voluntary and reduce public sector's involvement in Bitcoin-related economic activities. Paraguay President Santiago Peña called US Donald Trump's incoming foreign policy team a dream come true, and as his nation stands to become more relevant in the next US administration. Paraguay, a landlocked country, is one of the last remaining countries that maintain diplomatic ties with Taiwan. China has steadily whittled down Taipei's allies in Latin America amid rising tensions with the US. Honduras, Panama, El Salvador, and the Dominican Republic broke ties with Taiwan and switched to Beijing in recent years. Childcare centre set fire in Australia's latest anti-Semitic attack. The faculty, situated near a Jewish school and synagogue in Sydney, suffered significant damage, but police reported no injuries. Here is a full report on the anti-Semitic attack and the events that followed.
A childcare centre in Sydney was set on fire early Tuesday, with anti-Semitic graffiti found on the walls, marking another attack against the Jewish community in Australia. Located near a Jewish school and synagogue, the centre suffered significant damage, but fortunately, there were no injuries reported during the incident around 1 a.m. This attack is the second anti-Semitic incident in just 4 days in Sydney, highlighting a troubling trend of similar crimes targeting Jews in Australia's largest city. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns vowed that the perpetrators would be caught, emphasizing that police are increasing resources to investigate hate crimes amid public frustration over previous attacks. The rise in anti-Semitic incidents follows Israel's military response to Hamas's attack on October 7, 2023, with numerous attacks reported in Sydney over the past 2 months. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese condemned the latest incident as a vicious crime, as anti-Semitism becomes a critical issue ahead of the upcoming national elections. In response to these attacks, Australian Federal Police have formed a task force to address threats against the Jewish community, with one man already charged for making death threats. Let's see what happens next. Bureau Report, NewsX.
And that is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more international news updates. Thank you. Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching The World Report. Let's take a look at some of the headlines this hour. Donald J. Trump has been inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States. During the Capitol ceremony, Trump spoke about a new golden age for America, while slamming the previous administration. After being sworn in, President Trump signed several legally binding executive orders. Among the many orders to be signed, America has been withdrawn from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Agreement, while immigration orders and presidential pardons were also signed. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has attended Constitutional Court for his impeachment trial. At the start of the hearing, Yoon said he had worked with a firm commitment to free democracy after his failed martial law bid. As the Gaza ceasefire holds strong for the second day, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised to quash the threat in the region. Meanwhile, 137 bodies have been discovered in Rafah. Donald Trump has returned to the White House, sworn in as the 47th President of the United States for a second term. His inauguration has drawn a flurry of reactions from world leaders, some hopeful, some cautious, and others expressing concern about the global order. Here's how the world is responding to this historic moment.
Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office has sparked reactions across continents. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sees this as a chance to achieve real peace.
Трампа, він сильна людина. Я бажаю успіху президенту Трампу, всій Америці. Українці готові працювати разом з американцями, щоб досягти миру, справжнього миру. Це шанс.
European leaders joined the conversation, extending congratulations to Trump. NATO chief Mark Rutte said Trump's presidency would turbocharge defense spending, while EU chief Ursula von der Leyen highlighted the enduring strength of transatlantic ties. In Moscow, Vladimir Putin praised Trump's resilience during the election campaign.
Предвыборный период был для господина Трампа во всех отношениях нелегким. На него и даже на членов его семьи постоянно оказывалось жесточайшее давление. Дело дошло до попыток покушения на его жизнь. Но он проявил мужество, одержал убедительную победу на выборах.
Meanwhile, Iran expressed hope for a realistic approach from the Trump administration.
ما امیدواریم که 4 سال بعد قضاوتی که الان در مورد 4 سال گذشته وجود داره در مورد 4 سال آینده واقعا وجود نداشته باشه و رویکردها و سیاست‌های دولت آمریکا واقع گرایانه و مبتنی بر حقوق بین‌الملل و احترام به منافع و خواسته‌های ملت‌های منطقه از جمله ملت ایران باشه.
Brazilian President Lula da Silva was optimistic but diplomatic, emphasizing a peaceful relationship with the United States.
Tem gente que fala de que a eleição do Trump pode causar problema na democracia mundial. O Trump foi eleito para governar os Estados Unidos e eu, como presidente do Brasil, torço para que ele faça uma gestão profícua, para que o povo brasileiro, o povo americano melhore e para que os americanos continuem a ser o parceiro histórico que é do Brasil, porque da nossa parte nós não queremos briga. Nem com a Venezuela, nem com os americanos, nem com a China, nem com a Índia, nem com a Rússia. Nós queremos paz.
However, Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock struck a cautious tone, acknowledging potential policy differences under Trump.
Wir Europäer müssen daher auf unseren eigenen Beinen stehen und unseren Frieden, unsere Freiheit selber stärker schützen. Das haben wir beide hier sehr deutlich gemacht.
As Donald Trump begins his second term, world leaders are divided. Some see new opportunities, while others brace for challenges. One thing is certain: Trump's presidency will shape global dynamics once again. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's take a look at some news updates from the European region. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated US President Donald Trump on his inauguration. Both the leaders also expressed their hopes for just peace under Trump's administration amid raging war. While Zelensky said that Ukraine was looking forward to active and mutually beneficial cooperation, Putin said he was open to dialogue with the new US administration on war and nuclear arms. Both warring sides are looking for a peaceful resolution under Trump, who has claimed to end the war in a day. Prince Harry's legal battle against Rupert Murdoch's British newspaper group goes to trial at the High Court in London. Harry is suing news group newspapers for over alleged unlawful activities carried out by its journalists and private investigators from 1996 until 2011. The Prince says his mission is not money, but to get the truth. This is because other claimants settled cases to avoid the risk of a multi-million-pound legal bill that could be imposed even if they won in court. Harry's legal team said that it is his older brother, Prince William, had settled his case against NGN in 2020 for a very large sum of money. French President Emmanuel Macron has made fresh comments regarding the US administration as Donald Trump was sworn in. Macron warned that billions of taxpayer money spent on Europe's military budget should not be used to buy only American weapons. With this, he made his push for the more investment in homegrown defense industries. Speaking minutes before the inauguration of the US president, Macron said the continent should spend more. He also said Europeans should simplify the European defense industry. A British teenager unexplainedly pleaded guilty to murdering 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift-themed dance event last July. The government said it would hold an inquiry into the atrocity, which was followed by nationwide rioting. 18-year-old Axel Rudikana's confession made the trial was about to start at Liverpool Crown Court unnecessary. He also pleaded guilty to 10 charges of attempted murder relating to the attack, as well as producing the deadly poison ricin and possessing an Al-Qaeda training manual. Transnistria has agreed to purchase national gas from Moldova Gas to address its ongoing energy crisis. The region's Moscow-backed leader confirmed that Transnistria had accepted Moldova's offer. Gas supplies to Transnistria were halted on January the 1st by Russia's Gazprom. This was over a $709 million debt dispute with Moldova. Transnistria's energy company informed Moldova Gas of its intent to pay in full. However, no timeline was given for when supplies would resume. An independent report into a northern Italian diocese revealed dozens of sex abuse cases committed by members of the clergy over 6 decades. The report dug deeper into the past than others produced by the Italian Catholic Church. The Diocese of Gonzalo-Brixen investigated cases from 1964 through to 2023. It commissioned the report from a German law firm that found 67 possible abuse situations. It linked the cases to 41 priests, equal to 4.1% of the clergy operating in the diocese over the period. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed that Gaza will never again pose a threat to Israel. The statement came as a fragile truce held on day one of a ceasefire. Meanwhile, 3 Israeli hostages were freed, with the first phase of the truce aiming for 6 weeks of negotiations. Let's have a look at the report.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday vowed Gaza would never again pose a threat to Israel, as a tense calm prevailed on the second day of a truce in the Palestinian territory. 3 Israeli hostages, all women, were reunited with their families after Hamas fighters handed them over on Sunday, followed by the overnight release of 90 Palestinian prisoners from an Israeli jail in the occupied West Bank. The truce, mediated by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States, began on Sunday, on the eve of Donald Trump's inauguration for a second term as US president. In a video message on Monday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked Trump for helping to secure the hostage release deal and once more vowed to return the remaining hostages and to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
On behalf of the people of Israel, I also want to thank you for your efforts in helping free Israeli hostages. I look forward to working with you to return the remaining hostages, to destroy Hamas's military capabilities and end its political rule in Gaza, and to ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. I'm sure, Mr. President, that under your leadership, the best days of our alliance are yet to come.
If all goes to plan, the first phase of the truce would last 6 weeks, during which the parties would negotiate a permanent ceasefire, which has not been agreed yet. Bureau Report NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from North America. Southern California braces for intense winds with gusts up to 100 miles per hour and low humidity, creating extreme fire weather. The National Weather Service warns of a particularly dangerous situation across Los Angeles, Ventura, and San Diego counties. Crews halted a new fire in Poway, while firefighters remain alert after recent major blazes. Kamala Harris visited Aldenta, thanking responders and meeting victims. Jury selection begins for rapper A$AP Rocky, accused of firing a gun at Terrell Efron, a childhood friend, in 2021. He faces 2 felony charges and up to 24 years in prison if convicted. The rapper, who pleads not guilty, is known for his music, fashion, and partnership with Rihanna. Media cameras will cover the trial, with opening statements likely on Wednesday. Efron claims their feud escalated, leading to the alleged shooting where bullets grazed his knuckles. 15 grey wolves from Canada were released in Colorado's central mountains last week as part of a volunteer-driven reintroduction initiative. 5 relocated wolves from a previous release joined them in Eagle and Pitkin counties. Officials delayed the announcement due to threats against staff. Since the program began, livestock depredations have been reported and 2 wolves were illegally killed. The state plans to release 30 to 50 wolves over 5 years to restore the